and broadcasting and podcasting 438 miles between each other. You're listening to the Fifth Quarter Podcast, episode number 32. And no, don't worry, it's been a while. We know it's been a while. Desmond and I had to take a bye week. Everyone's got to take a bye week at some point. Glad to have you with us back here on a November the 22nd, 2019. It seems so long ago, Desmond. And one thing I do want to reflect on very quickly is, you know, John F. Kennedy was actually assassinated almost 50 or over 50 years ago today. Or almost, yeah, over 50 years ago today. Can you believe that?
R.I.P. to a good man.
Yep. One of the better presidents, and a lot that he did before he was, unfortunately saw his death there in Dallas. However, we still got a lot of things to talk about. Rather than that, let's talk football. Let's get into it and really recap these last few weeks. We'll recap just last week, and we'll get into the college football discussion as we and talk about what's the future, or not future, but what is next for these final 2 weeks of the regular season. Desmond, you ready to get into it?
I'm ready, George. Let's get to it.
All right. Again, remind you, George Koff and Desmond McLaughlin, coming at you here on this November the 22nd. All right, Desmond. Texas A&M played their final home game of the season against the South Carolina Gamecocks last Saturday. Let's just say it was a romp. I feel like, we did put some notes together because we thought we were going to be able to do a podcast last week. We both agreed. I know we had some communication. It looked like we both agreed it was going to be a pretty big blowout or pretty big scoring affair. Isaiah Spiller did his job. My friends can tell you this week I said if Isaiah Spiller could get 120 yards rushing on his own without the entire team, just him, the Aggies were going to win the football game. What does he do? He goes out, gets 140 yards, and of course you had Richardson get 130, and Mond add a few of himself, so we had almost 300 rushing yards, or even more than 300 rushing yards. So I think maybe it was a little bit of an understatement to say Spiller needed 120 rushing yards, but I mean you had to be pleased with the performance the Aggies put on Saturday night.
Yeah, I had mentioned was definitely the rushing stats. I was surprised to see not one, but two players get 130 plus rushing yards on the same team. Obviously, you're hopefully you'd win the game just with those stats alone.
Correct.
But A&M's had a pretty good season. I mean, they lost to who? Like Auburn, Bama, and Clemson. Again,
Correct.
That game to Auburn, I think y'all should have won that game. But still, Auburn is a ranked team. But those were not bad losses. But y'all still had to play Georgia and LSU, and I'm sorry, George, I don't see y'all winning any of those games.
Yeah, 7-5 is not a bad record. You mentioned it, and those 5 losses are to ranked opponents. It's not like you're losing games that you're winning games you're expected to, and then when you play these teams on the road, or even just ranked teams, you can't necessarily get it done. But it is a future. It is a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Personally, so let's get to Georgia. We're gonna do a big game tomorrow. I mean, of the two games, this looks like this is probably the more winnable game for the Aggies rather than LSU.
Yeah.
Either you go between the hedges at 2:30 this week versus trying to go on the road to Death Valley at night, which is basically a death sentence. I mean, I'm sorry, LSU, we beat them in 7 overtimes here in Aggie Land last year, and they're going to be going for our guts this year. They're going to just want to run it down our throats and just destroy us. Unfortunately, we'll see what happens, but Georgia this week, in the last few days, I've been thinking about it. I can't get my head around the fact that we may actually have something here. The Aggies may have something to be able to stop Georgia, especially on the run, on the ground. DeAndre Swift is very good, but look at the Aggies' run defense. It's top 20 or top 15 in the nation, let alone the last few weeks, top 5. This is going to be a type of game where it's going to be like something's got to give. You have two good rush defenses, two good rush offenses. Something's going to give. Something's going to have to break open. For me, I don't know if this is biased or if it's truly just looking at all the stats and looking at what to expect. I think in a very close game, this may come down to the last 5 minutes of the game, I will take the Aggies in an upset, 31-28. I don't think that's abnormal, and I don't think that's unheard of. But I can't understand if you do take the Bulldogs. I had gone back and forth a lot of times, but I kind of settled here on a 3-point win for the Aggies. What about you, Desmond?
Yeah, I'm sorry, George. I'm not feeling the upset. I think Georgia's gonna win this game. Um, I just think they're looking strong. They're the top five right now. Um,
For a reason.
yeah, for a reason. I haven't win. I think it will be close though. I haven't winning 24-17. I do think it'll be close. It'd be nice to see them get a win. Georgia, shake up that top five appearance right now, but we'll just have to see.
So that would be my next question briefly here, so we can kind of keep going. I know we wanted to keep this one short. What does that mean? Let's say A&M does pull off the upset. What does that do to Georgia's hopes for the college football playoff?
Yeah, I think they're out.
Even if they win the SEC?
Yes, I don't think
So
they'll put a
you would
two-loss.
have a
I don't think they'll put a two-loss team in there.
that beat LSU essentially in the SEC championship game.
I just really don't see them putting a two-loss team because
They haven't ever done it. We've seen that.
Yes.
They haven't put a two-loss team in. I mean, when it was Bama versus Georgia, or no, sorry, Bama versus Ohio State or whatever it was a few years ago, and you had a two-loss versus a one-loss, they put the one-loss team in. Or even last year with Oklahoma versus Georgia, they put Oklahoma in. Georgia's a two-loss team over here. So I agree with you. I do think that Georgia could hurt their hopes. Now, what would have to happen for Georgia to make it? Should, let's say, the rest of the college football, what would have to happen in the rest of college football for Georgia to
first
make
off, Oklahoma will have to lose again.
What about the Pac-12?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Yeah, pretty much a lot of teams would have to lose. It's like where it'd be like one-loss teams, a lot of one-loss teams. You know what I'm saying?
So that way that the committee is forced to put a two-loss team in.
Exactly.
And you could argue that they might have South Carolina's not a great loss, but a loss to Texas A&M, which potentially should be ranked or could be ranked, would be still pretty decent if you're looking at the two losses.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of losses, Desmond.
Isn't A&M ranked right now?
No, they are not. They're ranked in the AP poll, but not in the college football rankings.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. I thought we were talking about AP.
No, I mean, when you get to this part of the season, start talking about the college football playoff rankings, just because they are the ones that's going to decide the playoff. You could argue about the AP poll all you want, and unfortunately, A&M is ranked in coaches poll, AP poll, just not in the college football playoff rankings. I was just about to say, speaking of losses, Desmond, what happened in Lubbock last week? You take a lead into the fourth, and then TCU just puts a comeback on you.
I am so done with this season. I'm not gonna lie, George. I'm already on the basketball season here at Tech. I'm all about the basketball hype. I show up to games 3 hours early just to get some good seats. It's basketball season for me. I know we're in Texas. It's college football season, but I'm a basketball man. Texas Tech just not cutting it. I've been talking to my friends. I'm gonna give you a little inside information. One of them has friends who works for the chancellor here. Coach Wells might not be returning next season.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow. So it could be a one and done situation?
It could be. Especially with all the allegations going on. He's on the right mindset. He's not doing well at all.
Wait, folks, you heard it here first. Coach Wells might be gone and may not be returning for the 2020 Red Raiders football season. More on that later. We'll probably touch base back on that as we get towards the off season. Desmond, what is the realistic chance that Texas Tech wins their final two games? They went out to try to get into a bowl game.
Well,
that would be
George. All right,
Kansas.
George. I could throw the whole season in the trash. I will forgive Coach Wells if he beats Texas. If they beat Texas, I will disregard all the losses we've had the whole season. So just to see their faces lose to Texas Tech.
So that would be a 5-7 season, is what you're basically saying. You would be okay with 5-7 as long as
if they
beat
Texas
over Texas.
Yes.
Do you see them beating Kansas State this weekend at home?
No, I don't. I don't. At 38-24, I think K-State's gonna get done. Um, it'd be nice if they got the win, but I'm already looking for a Texas game. I'm gonna be watching. I'm gonna be ready. If they beat Texas, I would forgive them for everything.
All right, all right. So Desmond is saying that the Texas Tech season is not for complete loss unless they beat the Longhorns. That game is on Black Friday this year, so that will be a good one to wake up to at 11 a.m. So you wake up from your food coma on Thanksgiving to a nice Red Raider Longhorn clash in Austin. Uh, but this week, Kansas State travels to Lubbock to Jones AT&T Stadium. I'm with you, Desmond. I don't think Texas Tech can win, despite being a 3-point favorite. I got the Wildcats of Kansas State 40-33. I do think it'll be high scoring, and I do think it'll be a touchdown game. That game's at 6 p.m. on FS1. So, Desmond, if you do decide to go, it's a primetime game. You won't be sitting in the heat or, at this point in Lubbock, it's probably getting pretty cold in the evening. So, it might not be not be too bad of a game to stand and enjoy. All right. So, again, Texas Tech did lose to TCU. It was only by 2. 33-31 was the final. So they are trying to get themselves out of a losing streak. Well, not a losing streak because they beat West Virginia, but just trying to get out of being at the bottom of the Big 12. Let's talk about the Big 12 for a second. We got our third college football playoff rankings, third edition of them. And we had LSU, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, Alabama, Oregon, Utah. That did not change. 1 through 7 did not change. We didn't see, it looks like the committee, this is what they're kind of gearing towards. A lot of people are saying that Bama is a placeholder there in the 5 spot. Desmond, should the Pac-12, should Oregon or Utah come up with one loss, like a one-loss champion, would they jump Alabama into the playoff?
George, I'm gonna be honest with you. When I saw him go down, I said, "There go your football playoff chances."
For who?
Why? Huh?
For who?
Alabama.
Okay. When you saw Tua go down.
Why was he in the game?
But Desmond, you can't argue that. He was in the game. Saban said he was going to be in there that was going to be his last possession of the game. You cannot argue that. Why was he in there in the
first place? They're not playing anybody.
You got to get him reps. You can't you got to give him reps. You have to give him.
This man's been to 2 national championships. He's had his reps. Let him rest. Get your backup some reps.
I mean, so okay. So what you're basically saying is Bama's done. They're toast. Forget it. Even if they win.
Okay. I'm just saying that for me, it drastically went down.
Do you think Mac Jones is a good quarterback? He's the Bama backup.
I think he's okay, but he's definitely not Tua.
Obviously, I mean nobody's going to be.
Someone who's driven that offense for the last 2 years. It's going to be different.
Yeah, but Desmond, you have more guys in that offense than just Tua. You have Jerry Jeudy. You have.
I know. But even let's just look at the record alone. They're still not top 4.
Their one loss was to the number 1 team in the nation.
Okay. I still would have put them in my top 4, especially ever since Tua went down.
See, I wouldn't either. I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate here, and the reason why I'm saying is I'm playing the devil's advocate of the media and what's going to happen. Somehow Bama's going to sneak in. You know they will, because the playoff committees are going to say, well, their one loss is to a SEC champion, and we can't leave them out. Be LSU.
Who are they going to sneak out of?
Well, if Georgia loses to LSU in the SEC
what about Oklahoma?
If Oklahoma loses to Baylor in the Big 12 championship game, if Oregon and Utah somehow come up with a second loss, it's all about if. And I agree with you that if is right now, probably not. But we've seen stranger things happen. Look at how Oklahoma snuck in last year. We didn't think Oklahoma was going to sneak into the playoff. We thought it was going to be Georgia. We thought it was going to be Georgia without a doubt. And then what happens? The committee goes, oh, we'll put Oklahoma in.
Yeah, but right now, my number 1 was Ohio State.
That's what I was just
I'm
about
not.
to ask. Who's
I'm not.
college
I'm
quarterback?
not changing Ohio State out of number one. Yes, LSU beat Bama. I don't care. Ohio State is blowing every single team they play.
Okay.
LSU, of course, number two. They do deserve that.
Number
Um,
three.
Georgia.
Oh,
I think Georgia's better team than Clemson. Again, Clemson doesn't play anybody. You can say the same about Ohio State sometimes. Uh, but I just like Ohio State this year. And then four, I'll put Clemson.
okay. Me, I got the same, basically the same as committee. The top three same. LSU one, Ohio State two, Clemson three. You have to give Clemson respect for being undefeated.
Yeah,
That's as much. I mean, I can't. They don't play in a good conference, but they're in a Power Five conference, and they are playing ACC teams. They're not playing. They're not in the American, and you know what I mean. You have to
yeah.
give them respect for being in a Power Five conference.
And
So
being
they
the
do
reigning national champions.
correct. Um, although I would like to see a Clemson LSU semifinal game. That would be a game I'd be really intrigued to see, just because I feel like they don't match up well against Ohio State, and that has slaughter or beat down written all over Ohio State Clemson, just in my opinion. So I have LSU one, Ohio State two, Clemson three, and then I actually have Oregon sneaking in at four. I think Georgia's good, but again, we kind of just touched base on this. They have a loss to South Carolina. You have to win out. You have to beat LSU in the SEC championship game for two SEC teams to get in. At this point, it's LSU and Georgia. Bama not going to get in. You're not going to have three. But again, if you get two SEC teams in, expansion is going to be coming immediately. We're not going to be talking about a 14 playoff. We're going to be talking about at least a 16 playoff, just because of the fact that you can't leave the Big 12 or the Pac-12 champion, or the, even for that matter, let's say Clemson does lose, the ACC champion out. Yes, the committee is supposed to be looking for the four best teams, and the four best teams may not be the conference champions, but then don't value the conference champions into how you choose and select the four playoff teams. That's just,
Right.
I mean, that's just what I think. Not really many big games this week. I guess the only big one is Penn State, Ohio State, which we'll get to. A&M Georgia is ranked AP poll, AP poll ranked matchup, not college football playoff ranked matchup. Texas Baylor, of course, is going to be big, and of course the two Pac-12 showdowns, both top 10, the two best teams in the Pac-12 going to the desert. Oregon's going to be facing Arizona State, your small school from last year, in Tempe, and then Utah's going to be facing Arizona in Tucson. More on that in just a moment, but first, let's shift the conversation quickly here. I know, Desmond, we did this a few weeks ago, your little 90-second NBA talk, but let's talk about the NBA just a little bit. We're about a month into the season. What have been your three biggest takeaways from this so far? What you've seen?
Easy.
You had all the
Easy.
hype, you had all the, what was going to happen, but now
George,
actually watching the
you know I could
action.
talk about this for hours, any day, hours. But I singled it down because I know this is college football, your thing. You know what I'm saying? But let me tell you, in my opinion, three best things. Number one, I think there's a clear cut of who the two best teams in the NBA are right now,
Lakers.
and Rockets.
Yep.
I think there's no debate in that. Westbrook and Harden are looking nice. People thought they weren't going to mesh. They forget they played in OKC together. They have played together. Yes, they both got better. Yes, they both have won MVPs. But they have played together, and there's a reason why Westbrook came to Houston.
I was
And
going to
it's
add
working.
on. I was going to add on to that. That was my first takeaway, was Russ and Harden, that experiment that Fertitta and the Rockets have kind of tried out is working well, and it's working efficiently. You're allowing both players to spread the ball around, and it's working. There's
Yeah.
nothing that's saying it isn't, and I think you're right. Lakers and Rockets are the two best teams right now. What's your second takeaway?
I want to apologize to this man because whenever he came from the draft, I did not see the hype. Luka Doncic could be the next big thing.
Oh,
This man is insane.
that was actually my third takeaway. I said Luka Doncic may very well win the MVP this year.
Yes, he is insane.
Did you see I don't know if you saw the tweets and all the memes the Mavs played the Warriors a few days ago, and and people were saying Luka Doncic 33, Golden State Warriors 36 at the half. Like he was basically scoring,
Damn.
almost outscoring the Warriors at the half. Like this guy, and he ended up getting a triple double in 30 minutes, Desmond, or 28 minutes. In 28 minutes of play.
I
It's
know this man.
ridiculous.
He's insane. Just like when Evan Turner crossed up LeBron. Not gonna talk about that, but okay. Um, George, this next one, I take this one personal because everybody has a superstar of their generation. You could say LeBron's our generation. I also think that LeBron's a little bit like I think he's for someone that's like a little bit older than us, for
Right.
their superstar. I think our superstar right now needs to come back and play basketball. These injuries are killing me. Why? He was injured during Duke. He was injured during the summer league. He was injured during preseason.
I'm assuming you're
I
talking
swear,
about Zion Williamson.
I swear, if Zion becomes a bust, I'm gonna be so upset.
Desmond, I had 2 words for you at the beginning, or 3 words at the beginning of the season. Memphis, Grizzlies, playoffs. Who was the second guy drafted? Ja
Ja Morant.
Morant. What did we say? What did we say? We saw the whole Zion versus Ja. Who's going to be the superstar?
Well, Zion hasn't played yet, so you
It
can't
does.
compare.
I don't care. I don't care if he hasn't played. That's his problem. He should have been able to play by now if he wasn't this injury prone. But obviously, these scouts did not see that. I'm just saying, Ja Moran making it to the playoffs. My prediction is looking real nice. And I said that 3-4 days into the season. I just want to say, Desmond, I feel like you owe me an apology for roasting me very, very hard. We have the season hasn't hit Christmas yet, which means that's kind of the point where you start to see things level itself out. But all I'm saying is the Memphis Grizzlies need to be watched out for in the West.
All
Leave
right.
it at that so we can keep moving forward because we got some picks to make. Any last final thoughts?
No.
Okay. All right. When we had a bye week last week, so all the records stay the same. Desmond, you and I are both 5-6 in our upset record. We're both, I'm 5-5. You're 4-5 against the spread in our scary good game. So didn't change anything. We didn't have any picks last week. Although I will say, I did have the TCU score, the Texas Tech score. I said TCU would win 34-31. It was very close. So let's get to our picks and start out with the biggest game of the week. Penn State, Ohio State, top 10 matchup in Columbus. Game day is going to be there. Fox is going to be there. You name it, they're probably going to have some sort of reporter there to what do you call it, to cover the game. I feel like for the Nittany Lions are trying to prove themselves, whereas the Buckeyes have their eyes set on the playoff with as little stepping stones with these final few games along the way. For me, I think they get past this test very easily. I've got the Buckeyes by 14, Desmond, 44-30. What about you?
I agree, George. I told you. I think it's a clear cut that Ohio State's best team, one of the best teams in college football right now. Actually have them winning by 15. 39-24. I think they're gonna get it done.
Yep, they're 18.5-point favorites in the big noon kickoff game here on Fox from Columbus, Ohio, in the Horseshoe on the Ohio State University's campus. All right, we'll get moving forward here back to the grand old state of Texas as the Longhorns travel up Highway 6 and Highway 90, whatever it is, up to Waco to face the Baylor Bears. Obviously, Baylor had a huge 25-point lead at one point last week and proceeded to not score any points in the second half, and Oklahoma came back. Needless to say, they are still in the hunt for the playoff, or for the not for the playoff, for the Big 12. And if you told me that Baylor would lose a 25-point lead, lose the game, and still be in the playoff in the Big 12 championship conversation, I would not believe you. They are and you better be damn right you're gonna bet on the Bears this weekend. Longhorns will be they'll be lucky to finish 7-5 this season. That's right, Desmond. I'm kind of rooting for your Texas Tech Red Raiders to get to to get the Longhorns to 6-6. I like the Baylor Bears in this one, 34-23. What about you, Desmond?
Well, George, here's my perfect scenario to end the year. I hope that Texas beats Baylor. They're all excited. Oh, we beat Baylor. Big 12, baby. Oh, yeah, Texas is back. And it just gets whomped by Texas Tech. So I'm going with Texas this week. 35-21. Call that my upset.
Desmond, have you watched the way that Baylor has played some of these games? You really think it's
I
going
watched
to
them lose a
be
28-3 lead last week.
touche? But that was to Jalen Hurts. Are you really banking that
true.
Sam Ellinger is going to go into Waco and just quiet that crowd? I would be. I could see Texas winning, but I don't see them winning by like 14.
Okay, I'll
But I
take
do,
that.
I
Yeah,
do agree with the fact that if they do win, they're going to be like, "We're back, baby. Let's go. Let's go.
yeah,
We beat
exactly.
Baylor."
Yeah,
And then
exactly. Yeah,
they're gonna get to the next week, and Texas Tech is going to be fired up, and they're just going to do a
See,
womp.
that'd be awesome, bro.
Oh, it would be amazing. I mean, A&M would be over here getting the 7-5 like predicted, and people are predicting Texas to get to 7-5 and be like, "Oh, well, you lost to 5 terrible teams," and we're sitting here over, yeah, we lost to 5 ranked top 15 teams in the nation, laughing at you for losing to Texas Tech. Again,
Shit.
that game's at 2:30 from Waco on FS1. Baylor's basically a touchdown favorite. All right, Desmond. UCLA, USC. They play for the California Victory Bell. This is a rivalry game that both schools they like wrap each other's statues of mascots in the opposing colors, and they're bad blood against each other. Everyone seems to be doing rivalries. Like they have a flag football game with the managers, and they have basketball usually plays each other at some point during the week. For me, Clay Helton, the USC coach, needs this game to help him keep the job at USC. And for all you Trojan fans, I know how bad you want Clay Helton out. So let it be known that the gods of the George upset pick are going to be with the Bruins, okay? So this is a pick that's not just for UCLA. This is for USC fans. This is saying Helton needs to go. So I've got the UCLA Bruins and my upset pick of the week, 27-20. They win on the road in the Coliseum. What about you, Desmond?
Well, it's funny because I had UCLA winning too, and I was going to debate whether or not to make the Texas or this game my upset pick. Well, I'm glad I went with Texas just so kind of some diversity up in here. But I agree. I think UCLA is going to win this one, 21-19. They have very similar records. I think USC has like one less loss. So this isn't on paper. It looks like you're a ranked team versus an unranked team, but they're a lot closer than people think.
Yeah, I feel like A&M should have been ranked in that 23 spot versus USC being ranked. If you look at who USC beat and who A&M beat, and kind of look at the losses as well, their losses are worse than A&M. So you could argue that any day of the week. But either way, I think you're right. On paper, it's a ranked versus unranked, but when you really look deeper, it's very much going to be closer. I believe FPI, the ESPN Football Power Index, gives UCLA, I think it's like a 40% chance to win the game. So it's not like it's not crazy low. It's still a chance. It's not 50-50 either. It's crazy low, and it's not crazy low either. So USC is a 14-point favorite in their 2:30 matchup on ABC. So we'll see what happens there. All right, we move to the American Conference. Desmond, you know how much I love to talk about the American Conference because it is by far the most competitive this year. Temple and 19th ranked Cincinnati battled it out in Cincinnati. Cincinnati is looking to clinch the East Division. They haven't done so yet. They've clinched a share, but they are looking for the outright division win. They can do so with a win or a UCF loss this week. I do believe they will play Memphis next week, and I do believe they'll have a back-to-back meeting in the American Conference Championship with Memphis. So let's bring it on. Let's bring on Memphis back-to-back. I like the Cincinnati Bearcats, which is a cool mascot. 42-35 over to the Temple Owls. Desmond, over to you.
Yeah, I think Cincinnati's going to win this one. I had it close. I think it's been a late field goal. 17-14.
Ooh, low scoring.
Yep.
Well, that game is at night, so the wind could be a factor in Cincinnati. They are a 10-point favorite, so you can watch that one at 6 p.m. on ESPN2. All right, moving ahead to the Pac-12. We mentioned it just a bit briefly. Oregon, Utah, the two top 10 teams from the Pac-12, best teams in the Pac-12. They head out to the desert. Both of them do. Oregon goes to Arizona State to take on the Sun Devils. Utah will take on the Wildcats of Arizona. We'll get to that matchup in just a second. Let's talk about Oregon, Arizona State. The Ducks are looking to continue their quest for the Pac-12 championship and a conference or college football playoff appearance. Right now, it looks like they're on a collision course to face Utah in that Pac-12 championship, and I think it's all about finishing strong and winning out. I've got the Oregon Ducks I'm looking at it now. I've got the Oregon Ducks pretty big, 44-20.
Yeah, George. Even though you like Arizona State, my small school from last year, I think Oregon's going to come out. They're going to bring that firepower. They're going to try to make their chances of getting into that top four more and just blow it away, 38-10.
Yeah, if they win here, I feel like they are essentially, and they beat Oregon State in their rivalry game. If they beat Oregon State in their rivalry game, I feel like they are a lock if they win the Pac-12. They will be in. If they win their final two regular season games, they will be in. There's no doubt you can count them out. It's whether or not they finished that with the Pac-12 championship game victory.
Right.
Either way, let's get to the other team on the other side of the Pac-12. 7th-ranked Utah and Arizona Wildcats. This one's in Tempe, Arizona. A little bit later, that previous game is the Saturday night primetime game on ABC. This one is a 9 p.m. Kick on FS1. And Utah still has not clinched the Pac-12 South. Oregon, however, has clinched the North Division. And I feel like Arizona has presented a passing game situation, a tricky passing game for some of these Pac-12 teams, but they haven't been the same without Khalil Tate. I know Grant Gunnell, he was the St. Pius quarterback who was really good. He's been taking over that Arizona offense. He just hasn't been the same. It hasn't been the same Arizona offense we've seen before. I like Utah's chances. They clinched the South. Utah, Oregon we solidify that as a championship game. I like the Utah Utes, 40-27.
Yeah, I have Utah in this one too, 23-7. I'm sorry, I was just thinking about the time that we actually lost to them at the beginning of the season to Arizona.
And look where that's happened. They're bad. They're bad.
Exactly. I don't even understand us. But yeah, I have Utah winning this game.
Yeah, Utah's a 22.5-point favorite. So, we both are taking Arizona to cover, but I wouldn't be surprised if Utah just starts to just keep scoring and scoring and scoring. Finally, let's go back to the American. I threw one on there last minute. SMU and Navy take on each other from Annapolis, Maryland. Desmond, SMU is ranked in the college football playoff rankings. They're back again. Navy fell out of the rankings after losing to Notre Dame by a trillion. It was bad. It was like 56-10 or something, 52-17 or something like that. It was just bad. Either way, this game, we were looking at this game on the schedule at SMU Navy, thinking, oh, this is going to be a good one. This is going to be a good game. Well, it appears that both teams have forgotten how to play defense, and let alone their offenses have tried to compensate. And, SMU allowed East Carolina to put 40 some odd points on them. They allowed Memphis to put 50 something on them. I do think Memphis will be able to lose to Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's a better team than American, so this game still means a lot because they could potentially win the West Division. And for me, it's hard to not pick the Mustangs off the season they've had. So I take the Mustangs 48-40. They sink the Navy. So they have more firepower. They sink the Navy.
Oh my gosh, George.
Sorry, Naval Academy. Anchors away, but not today. How about you, Desmond?
Yeah, George. Pony up, baby. I think I actually have the close game though. I think it's gonna be low scoring. I just have this feeling. But I have SMU winning this one 10-3.
Oh my gosh.
I told you.
Desmond, I just mentioned that their defenses, they don't know how to play defense. And you're expecting 10-3?
Yep.
So somehow so the offenses won't travel, but the defenses will? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think SMU is averaging they've allowed an average of 38 or 40 points per game over the last 4 games or something like that. It's bad. It is bad. If you look at it, it's and Navy's the same. They're closer. I think it's close to the 30 for Navy. So we'll see. That game's on CBS Sports Network. Navy's a 4-point favorite, and it's a 2:30 kickoff from Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium in Annapolis. All right, Desmond, let's get to our scary good game. We both have 5 losses against the spread. This week, I've chosen a Pac-12 matchup, but for once, finally get them back into the spotlight. Cal and Stanford. This game is called the Big Game rivalry. We've had everything from the band coming onto the field in the 80s to Stanford's explosive offense a few years ago to even that explosive criteria, meaning that the game had to be postponed due to all the wildfires last year until the last week of the season or whatever. Aaron Rodgers has played in this rivalry, and he has said it is one of the worst rivalries he's ever played in. It's very, very one-sided, and it's very competitive. One-sided in favor of Stanford. Stanford's won the last 9 in a row. Personally, the spread is Stanford 2.5. I don't know if Stanford's going to lose the game, but I certainly do believe Cal will cover. Just because, what the heck, I'll take Cal and the points. Cal covers, Cal wins outright. What about you, Desmond?
I'm going to keep... I think we always say the same thing.
You going to take Cal to cover?
Yeah.
Let me give you this stat. Stanford leads the overall series 64-46-11. This is the 122nd meeting between these two teams. Stanford's at home. Stanford's 4-6. They have to win their last 2 to get to bowl eligibility. You still going Cal covering?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so Cal covers. All right, and quickly here, small school. Yeah, being a Wyoming fan, I knew would come back to bite me in the butt. And we've dropped some ones that we didn't really want to drop. However, we're still bowl eligible. I'll take it. We lost to Boise State on a last-second field goal in overtime. Don't ask how mad I was. We lost to Utah State last week. Don't ask how mad I was. We get the border war rivalry against Colorado State. If we lose that one, let's just keep moving forward. They're 6-point favorites. It's tonight on ESPN2. I think Wyoming will win. All right, Desmond. What happened to Houston? 3-7. The tanking after sitting your best quarterback. You play Tulsa. Tulsa is actually favored this week. Do you got any hope? Do you have any hope for Houston?
No. I do against Tulsa. Yeah, I think they will pull it a win.
I love that enthusiasm. You're like, well, I don't know. Well, maybe actually. What are you, kombucha girl?
Maybe. You never know.
What are you, kombucha girl? Yeah, maybe. Well,
I mean,
I think we're gonna wrap it up here, and you can watch that game at 6:30 on ESPNU between a pair of 2, 3, and 7 teams from Tulsa, Oklahoma. All right, we're gonna hit the buzzer on this episode number 12, number 32 overall, and don't worry, we'll be back to sum up the Thanksgiving madness that is the final week of the regular season. We'll probably have it for you Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon. So tune in to that. And if we don't, for some reason, get you a Thanksgiving uh, episode, we wish your family a very happy Thanksgiving. And as we get into this holiday season, so be thankful for what you have. Be thankful for food that you're able to eat. And thanks for listening to us. Signing off for the 5th quarter. I'm George Coffin, College Station, and for my colleague in Lubbock,
Desmond McLaughlin.
saying so long, and we'll catch you next time on the 5th quarter podcast. Take care, Giga Maggies, and adios.